Ooh. Hey guys, it's Lisa here at Keller Williams, South Tampa, coming at you again for another Millennial Monday. All right, so today is crazy, but I'm gonna make this video and I wanna teach you guys a little bit about something, okay? Over the weekend, we did a little poll. We voted to see what the topic for today was gonna be, and you guys chose bank-owned properties. So just like any good democratic society here at Alicia Dear Cats of Keller Williams, we're gonna go ahead and respect your vote, and we're gonna talk about bank-owned properties today. The thing is that it's not even really bank-owned properties, and that was kind of my bad. This is more of special sale provisions. So we're gonna talk about the different types of sale provisions, what that means, if it's necessarily a good or bad thing for you. We're gonna talk about it, okay? So number one is auctions. Right? So auctions are kind of like a do-it-yourself thing. If you're the kind of person who doesn't believe you need any sort of representation or guidance and you really enjoy gambling, auctions might be the way to go. Each auction is a little bit different, so there is no hard and fast rule for how auctions work. I will say there are a couple of criteria. So one of the criteria is that you might not be able to look at the house. So in a lot of cases, you're looking at it basically from a drive-by perspective. You're not able to actually look inside of the home, and there are not really a ton of pictures for them. And number two, they're not going to pay an agent. So you're either representing yourself or you're coming out of your own pocket in some situations to have an agent represent you. And the third thing is that you may have to pay a buyer's premium in addition to the cost of the home. So this could be to cover agents' commissions on either side, whatever they decide really. If there's a buyer's premium, you are expected to pay that at the time of buying the home at the auction. And are these cash only? Sometimes. It's not like there are some situations where you can finance, some situations where you can't. Again, case by case basis. This is not an avenue I suggest any first time home buyer take. It's way too risky, and unless you have a ton of money set aside for pretty much everything you could possibly think going wrong, I wouldn't do it. All right, so number two, we're gonna talk about a short sale. Short sales are kind of more like long sales, and it's really confusing like that they're called short sales, but I'll tell you why. A short sale does not happen quickly. It happens over a very long period of time, because what has happened is that the seller of this home they don't have enough cash to cover how much they owe on the house. So what does that mean? Let's say that the seller owes $200,000 on the house. They can no longer afford to pay their mortgage. And let's say the house is worth $160,000. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna go to the bank and say, hey, I'm coming up short on what I owe on this house. Is it possible for me to sell it at this price point? And it's between them and the bank to figure out whether or not that's gonna work. Does that make sense? So basically they're coming up short in what they owe on their mortgage. They're no longer able to satisfy their mortgage payments, and for whatever reason, they have decided not to go the foreclosure route, because the other option there would be to foreclose on their home, bank repossesses it. This way, the seller is basically attempting to try and save their credit so they can eventually buy another house without having that on their that foreclosure on their credit. Short sales are very cumbersome, and I would not expect any repairs on a short sale simply because the seller can't even afford to pay their mortgage. So the likelihood that they're going to be able to afford to make any repairs on the house is very, very slim. I don't recommend short sales for first-time home buyers, but this is just so you know about it. You may see this when you're looking through, like if I send you listings on the MLS and you see that it's a short sale, that's what that means, all right? And number three is foreclosed properties. This is what you're gonna see most often. It's also referred to as real estate owned or REO. These are properties that have already been foreclosed on by the bank. So the original borrower has basically, they gave up the house, and now the bank has retained possession of it, and they are attempting to recoup their loss on the home. Because you're working with corporations, you don't really have a whole lot of flexibility. In this case, your seller pretty much it's a bank, and they're not really interested in your feelings. They're not really interested in being accommodating. All they're really interested in doing is getting the most money as they possibly can for each property. And the agents that represent them they're trained to do exactly that. So A lot of people think that foreclosures will save them money. In some cases, yes, you may get lucky. In other cases, you really might not. And so you just want to make sure that you're looking at the market and being smart on a case-by-case basis. Typically with foreclosed homes, they're going to need some repairs. The bank is unlikely to make any repairs on that house unless it prevents the home from being sold repeatedly. And the other part to that is they usually want your highest and best offer. So it's not an auction per se, but kind of, because when you make that offer, it truly does have to be your highest and best. Because if it's not, if you're leaving money on the table, if you would have paid a couple extra $1,000s and someone else came in and offered it, you're not going to have the chance to make up for that. So it's going to go to the person who offered them more money. All right. That's really it, guys. You got any questions about it? If you're a first-time home buyer, I would not suggest getting an auction home or a short sale. Foreclosures we can look at, we can talk more about those. Those to me are not as scary as the first two, especially for a new homeowner, a new, novice buyer. That being said, this is a really long video, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, call or text me anytime, 813-270-3659. Once again, that's 813-270-3659. I appreciate you guys. You just take care, stay blessed, and have a great Monday.